Fasten your chin strap and put your pads on. Get a grip on the bat, here comes a fastball. We ain't going one and done, we're here to last long. This the top of the standards, get ready to blast off. Alright, let's do this. Hut hut! Every Sunday afternoon, big sports fanatics coming out your speakers like a piston running with magic. Game time status good to go is automatic. Ready for the blowouts and the instant classics. Calling all the teachers, all the fathers and the mothers. Calling all the kids, all the sisters and the brothers. Dynamic high schoolers in the game like no other preseason. Game 7s, hey, y'all know we got it covered. From the finals to the Super Bowl to the World Series to the Stanley Cup final. Over here we spit it clearly. Andrew Hale and Jotham Israel coming with the hottest topics. Hey, you know what's up with sports. People wanting it, we got it. Yeah, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on.
Yeah, top of the standards. That's what it's about, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, season 2 is here, baby. Yes, Jotham Israel and Andrew Hale, we're back and better than ever. Yes, we got a ton of sports to talk about, as always. And yes, I can rap. I produced the song, I wrote the lyrics, and I rapped it. That is my voice. Yes, you guys better believe it. But before we get started,
man, oh man. I'm telling you, Jotham, it looks like the 1 and 2 are locked right now. Probably, most likely, the 3. But who knows who will hop into the number 4 and final spot in the college football playoff.
It's got to be A&M. I expect nothing less than A&M. If A&M doesn't get in, I'm going to be heated. Notre Dame just lost the conference title game. I looked at that game as the elimination game. If you lost that game, you were out. Clemson definitely would have been out if they lost. Notre Dame should be out if they lost as well. And they did lose. So they should be out. Simple as that, right? Stop giving me this whole bootleg 1 year, one and done ACC bias from Notre Dame. Please stop with the bias, bro. Because obviously it's clear that the committee is biased with Power 5 teams, bro.
Yeah, it is. And see, I do agree with you, but let's say the game ended in a game-winning field goal. I think we would have a different story because, I mean, it's Notre Dame got blown out once again. And that I don't, if you get blown out on championship weekend, I don't think you deserve a playoff spot. So I'm saying if it was a closer game, maybe a game-winning field goal, then I think we could have a different story with Notre Dame hopping in. But just because they got blown out, I don't see them getting in, and I don't want to see them getting in either.
I don't care if this game went to double overtime again. I wouldn't put Notre Dame in. I wouldn't put the loser in, no matter how close the game was or how bad the game was. No matter how good they played, I would not have put them in. I would not have put them in. And Notre Dame is the victim here. They're out in my eyes. They better be out or I'm going to be heated.
Yeah, I mean, if they, let's say they do get in at that 4, I see another blowout happening, another one, because they've already proven themselves that they cannot win in those big games. And I'm telling you, that game last night against Clemson reminded me so much of the first meeting in the college football playoff, and I don't want to see a part 3 now.
Yeah, you know what? At least that was the only blowout of championship weekend. At least that was the only blowout, because we definitely had some much better games. I'll go ahead and start with Alabama and Florida. You know, I already knew in the back of my head that Florida was going to play better. They were going to play better than they did against LSU. That was an atrocity. They didn't have Kyle Pitts, and they definitely showed that they missed Kyle Pitts last week, and he came out and balled against Bama. But obviously that wasn't enough. You want to know why? It's freaking Alabama, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I was asking myself this question while watching. I was like, is this Alabama offense this good, or is this Florida defense this terrible? Because both, it literally, I couldn't tell, because every single time Alabama would get the ball, it would seem like a 95-yard drive down the field, a touchdown inevitably. But it's literally, I was surprised. I was like, Florida, I can't tell if your defense is terrible, which it looked like for the most part everyone was getting burned. I don't know what was going on, but that was an offensive shootout, because to be honest, Alabama's defense obviously they won, but it wasn't much better. So I think it was just an offensive shootout from both quarterbacks, two quarterbacks who could potentially win that Heisman Trophy award at the end of the season. Who knows?
Well, I think they should. I think they'll give it to Trask. I really do. But you know what, man? I'm starting to sense a revolution in the SEC because we've known the SEC over the past decade for their defense, right? They are really, really stacking the guns on offense in recent years, and I think my eyes really opened to that when we had the Iron Bowl last year. Auburn and Alabama, 48-45. It was a shootout. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not used to SEC games being this high scoring. Is this the bootleg Big 12 or what was going on here? Yeah. And the Big 12 is starting to get defensive too. I mean, I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah, and last night, that game really felt like an old school college football game. From all the big hits, all the big runs, all the big plays, dude, I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, that was definitely an instant classic. But I want to talk about Oklahoma and Iowa State because I felt like if Iowa State would have won, they would have gotten in the playoff. They would have. Because, I mean, considering how high the committee has been ranking them in recent weeks, I'm thinking there's no reason that if the dominoes fall the way that the Cyclones, would have outside of the Big 12 championship game, that they would have gotten in. Notre Dame lost. Florida lost. A&M still stuck at 5. Notre Dame's out of the discussion. I don't know if I said that twice, but, it's just like it was right there for Iowa State. And ouch. Brock Purdy did not have his best game.
No, I mean, the game was really it was close towards the end of the game, and I don't know what Iowa State's philosophy was. It was 3rd and 11, and he decides to throw a hand punt. I don't understand why he would even throw that. It was. I'm pretty sure it was double coverage, right? It was not smart.
Two Sooners in the vicinity.
Not smart.
And I went back and watched the highlights. All 3 of his interceptions were terrible. Oh my goodness! I'm sitting here thinking, how did he get this team back in a 1-score game? And I like Brock Purdy. I like what he's done to Iowa State. He's really brought relevance to that program in recent years. But man, you had the Big 12 championship right there, and they were driving down the field too. And I'm just like, you were making the Sooners choke. You were making the Sooners choke, bro. I'm just like, no, Brock, no.
Yeah, that was unfortunate to watch. It was anticlimactic at best. I mean, you always think those games are gonna have an exciting end, and then a quarterback throws a terrible interception or makes a terrible decision. That was one of those games, and it was tough to watch.
Ugh. Yeah, that was tough. But you know what's even tougher? Okay, the mere fact that the people were talking about USC in the college football playoff was already disgusting enough as it is. There was no way that they were getting in by just beating Oregon. They needed Washington in that game because that just wasn't a good situation for the Trojans. But the fact that they lost to the Ducks, and I'm not saying Oregon is bad. Oregon is far from bad. But if you're talking college football playoff hopes, this is the second year that Oregon has denied and ended all of those talks. They ended it last year with Utah, although Utah was a much more realistic shot at doing it. And then USC just comes out here and lays a goose egg, not only in the Pac-12 championship game, but the game was at USC, which is weird.
Yeah, that was. I don't know. I just wasn't surprised. Obviously, somehow I was able to, call Oregon won. I mean, I called it before they were even in the Pac-12. Before they shouldn't even been in the Pac-12 championship, and I called it before. So I'll take that as a win in my book. But nonetheless, I thought. I mean, it wasn't too surprising. Obviously, no. Oregon lost a few games before that, but USC, I mean, you were so close. Honestly, I think they would have made it to the playoff. I think if they would have won that, I think they would have made it. The way just the committee was talking and the analysts were talking, they were saying, why should Ohio State make it and not USC? And that was a good argument, in my opinion, because both would have had the same record. So, I don't know. If they would have won, I could have seen them in the college football playoff. But they obviously didn't, and we have an entirely different story.
I acknowledged it, but I didn't really think about it that much. The USC Ohio State USC would have give people a lot of things to think about if they would have won. But you know what? Their comeback luck ran out. Oregon was like, no, you're not doing us like you did the Arizonas and the UCLAs, or should I say UCLA? And I'm just, no, the Ducks were not having it. And this is back to back. They just went back to back and just denied college football playoff. Oregon is the new CFP blocker. How about that?
That just reminded me of like when you know how you put on like an ad blocker when you go to a website. That's basically what they are. When you go to the college football playoff website, get your Oregon blocker on your browser because you're going to need it.
All that's missing for the Oregon Ducks is that slash on the O.
Yeah.
That's all that's missing. That's all that's missing. And then you got yourself the perfect block signal for Oregon.
Perfect.
Oh man, but yeah, there were also a couple of upsets. As I said, I went 0 for 3 on Friday championship games, and oh my goodness. Now I'm not all that terribly surprised. I didn't expect Marshall and Buffalo to absolutely mop the floor with UAB and Ball State. Man, the games, it was not. I didn't expect them to go out like that. I mean UAB and Ball State won pretty handily. I mean, it wasn't like it took a miracle to win it, I mean, 2 possession wins.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna start with Ball State and Buffalo. I had it on in the background, and literally every time I turned my head, there was a touchdown. Literally, I remember in back-to-back possessions, or not even back-to-back possessions, Ball State scored, and then it was Buffalo's ball. 2 seconds later, I turn around, and it's Ball State returning either an interception or a fumble for a touchdown. So that game was an absolute offensive showcase and defensive showcase, just scoring showcase, basically.
Good game all around. The game, you said it was pretty good. I'm just like, this game looks pretty good. And yeah, hey, Maction at his finest, man. And you know what's funny? Ball State was literally 1 yard of a backward pass away from not even being there.
I know that it was, so that really was an impressive win against Buffalo, because to be honest, they could have easily not have made it, but who knows?
Yeah, that's college football, man. Very interesting stuff. And there's obviously been some great stories too, but we don't really talk about San Jose State that much. We got to give props to these Spartans, man. Hey, you're rocking a Spartan. Hey, you got company, my friend. You got to let my homie San Jose State in the crib with you, man. You got some Spartans there, also champions of the Mountain West too.
Yeah, you were right. I hadn't heard the story before you brought it up last week, but after seeing how they handled Boise State, I'm here. I'm here now. I have awoken from sleeping on San Jose State, because they from what I saw, I didn't watch the game, but I saw the score and it looked like they defeated Boise State pretty handily. So, impressive win there.
Yeah, I watched the game, and San Jose State really had a lot of control throughout the game. And outside of a punt return that cut it to 1 score for Boise State, San Jose State was really, in control of the game the entire time. The San Jose State quarterback, he was 32 for 52, 453 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dude went off. And so I'm just like, oh my goodness. I mean, college receivers are going off nowadays, because there was one guy, he had 7 receptions, a $137 and a touchdown. I'm just like, dude, the stats were insane this weekend.
Yeah, there were some really good performances, and I don't even think we need to bring this up at that Ohio State Northwestern. I honestly don't think that score did the game justice, because Ohio State really didn't play that well. They had a lot of turnovers. They fundamentally they didn't look the greatest. Had a few drops, had a few bad passes, but ultimately they won. It was definitely a good fight by Northwestern. But again, it is tough to beat Ohio State nowadays.
Yeah, even with a depleted roster. And the thing that really makes me mad is that Northwestern had so many chances to score. They had so many chances to score. They were up 10-3 at one point. Of course, they let Ohio State run the next 19 off. But man, they traded end zone interceptions, and it's just like, dude, Northwestern, come on, man. And I think they missed a short field goal too. So Northwestern left some points on the board, and you can't do that against the Buckeyes, man.
Nope, it seems like we see that story every single year where a team is up on Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship and is playing so well. When that second half comes around, it's an entirely different story.
Yeah, it frustrates me, man. It frustrates me so much. And I mean, if I see them in the college football playoff, they're most likely going to go up against Alabama, and I don't know. I don't know if they can repeat what they did in 2015 playoff, I believe it was, when they won the national championship. But I don't know, dude. It might get real nasty for them.
Yeah.
But hey, there were also, last thing I'm gonna say about college football, there were some pretty good games outside of the champ games. Minnesota and Wisconsin went to overtime. Wisconsin kept the axe. Ole Miss and LSU had an SEC shootout of their own. They both like combined for over 1,100 yards of total offense. Washington State blew a 21-point lead to Utah. Utah, they went on a 38-0 run to go from down 21 to win by 17. Patrick Mahomes 2019 playoff style. It was just like, whoa! I'm watching these other college football games, and of course Stanford UCLA was an instant classic too. Oh my goodness, Chip Kelly had guts, and it came back to bite him. Whew. Outstanding week of college football for a champ week.
Yeah, definitely. And later today, we got an interesting college football special, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and there's been some bowl games that have been confirmed, but obviously we want the other ones, to keep on rolling in. And
of course,
I'm gonna be so sad because the Rose Bowl's not gonna be played in the Rose Bowl. That's gonna be so weird. It's a bootleg Cotton Bowl, man.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll talk about it on the special. I'll rage more about it on the special, man. Let's get into this NFL talk, man. Because circle the wagons, my boy. Let's go. Buffalo finally did it. I'm so happy for their fans, bro. I'm so happy for the Bills Mafia.
I am also so excited. I really enjoy watching the Bills. I mean, to see where they've come these past few years after drafting a good quarterback, unlike the Jets and some other teams, but nonetheless, they got themselves a quarterback, they got themselves a team, and now they got themselves a Super Bowl contender. I'm going to say it, a Super Bowl contender, because that's what they are. But it's funny because the last time the Bills won the AFC East, Josh Allen wasn't even born, right? The Texans didn't even exist. And Bill Belichick was still coaching the Browns. So I'll say that the Cowboys were good back then. Not anymore. So, it's been a while. It's been a long while since the AFC East was in the Bills' hands. I love it.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the Colts last won the division that the Bills were in. It's funny because it's like it's been that long since the Bills had won the division. It's been so long, the Colts won it before they did. It was just like the Colts, they're not even in the same division anymore. It's just like, what? How can you go so many years if not winning the division? And that's why I'm so happy for them. It's been a long road. It's been a good long road. The playoff berth in 2018, where the Bengals bailed them out. You know what I'm saying? Last year was a pretty big step too, and now you win the division, host a playoff game in Buffalo. Oh my goodness, I wish Bills Mafia was there to see it. Oh,
That place would be packed. But it's interesting also because I'm not sure if you've watched I think it was a 30 for 30 on the Bills and how they made it to the Super Bowl almost every single year and then would lose back in the 80s or the 90s or whenever. But it's really happy to see because they've had some very not even they've had a very unfortunate history. So this is time. They're definitely on the rise, and I'm looking forward to it.
All I gotta say is that if I see Titans Bills in the playoffs, if I see that game in the playoffs, and they both look like they're gonna win their division, so the only way that might happen is if they meet in the divisional round or if they meet in the AFC Championship. But look, the Bills and the Titans have had some really iconic playoff moments. Back when the Titans were the Houston Oilers. You know, we all know about the 32-point comeback by the Bills. And then the Bills went on to go to the Super Bowl after that. Then in 2000, the Music City Miracle happened on the kickoff. The Titans went to the Super Bowl, and then they lost it, of course, by 1 yard. But still, if Bills-Titans happens, be on the lookout. And you heard it here first.
Yeah, you definitely did. Top of the standings, bringing you the craziest takes because I hope that happens. I really do.
Yes, especially in the AFC Championship. Oh my gosh, stakes would be so high. Josh Allen and Devin Singletary versus Derrick Henry and Ryan that'll get me so juiced. But there's also other teams in the playoff hunt. Look, Ravens Browns was probably the game of the year.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%.
Got to tip your hat to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, they played so well. I would honestly, it was. I know the Ravens won, but that was almost a win for the Browns to show that they can compete with a team like the Ravens. I know the Ravens have struggled a little bit this year, but they're still the Ravens. They still have Lamar Jackson. So I think we know that the Browns they can go into the playoffs and they can put up a hard fight against anyone they play. So I really enjoyed that game. I really love the action. I feel bad for the Browns though because they had that, and Lamar Jackson comes out like Superman and wins the game. So
you know what? I'm still hyped because my boy Trace McSorley, even though it landed him on IR, he still stepped on the NFL football field in the fourth quarter and did what he needed to do to win an NFL football game. That is why I am so happy that Trace McSorley is in the NFL. So happy. I'm so hyped. I want this dude. You know what the Bears should do? Draft Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, trade for Trace McSorley, get that 1-2 combo in Chicago or something like that. Or better yet, just trade for Trace. Just trade for Trace.
Imagine. You'd be ecstatic if that happened. If Mitchell Trubisky got traded for Trace McSorley, you'd be ecstatic. You really would.
I'd be in a frenzy. I'd be in that freaking freezy frenzy. Call it a new drink. The freezy frenzy. Oh my gosh. Watch that happen. Oh, that's probably not going to happen because the Bears probably have nothing to give the Ravens at this point. But, if that were to happen, game over. Speaking of those Bears, last week I did say that Deshaun Watson was going to come in and drop 40 and basically end the Mitchell Trubisky era. But it seems like the Bears have shown a sense of urgency all of a sudden. What is this? What is this?
I don't know. So if the Bears lose to the Lions and the Texans absolutely blow out the Lions, and I don't know what the NFL is. This is stupid. Teams who should win are getting blown out. Teams that should lose are doing the blowing out. This is insane. I don't know what the Bears are doing. Do they want to win? Do they want to lose? I have no idea. You tell me. You tell me.
Yeah, I have no idea either. But you know what? We'll see what happens with this game at Minnesota, which is basically the elimination game. We lost to them on Monday night. And it took a lot. It obviously took a lot to lose because our offense sucked. And, Nick Foles was basically a statue in the pocket that game. Although the offensive line wasn't all that, protective of him. But, hey, we got the mobile Mitchell Trubisky, right? But we still got to deal with Justin Jefferson and the ever so inconsistent Kirk Cousins, who can throw three touchdowns on your head any given game, but then throw 3 interceptions any given game as well. So who I don't know what to expect from this game. I don't know. All I know is that whoever loses is out, and whoever wins still has a chance to hunt down the Cardinals for that 7th seed.
Yeah, 100%.
Whew. A lot of good stuff that happened, man. I mean, obviously, I think the NFL should put Chargers Raiders in prime time next year again, because they delivered on both of their games, both of them. Yeah, awesome game.
That was crazy. It really was. But what are the Raiders doing? This is the second straight year where they've started off so promising and then just towards the end of the season lose all of their games. It is tough to watch because I enjoy watching the Raiders, but I don't know. I don't think they're that good anymore. To begin with, I don't think they're that good.
Their defense was fraudulent. I mean,
yeah, the defense is terrible.
We had no idea, because we're thinking, this is the defense. This is the only defense in the NFL that managed to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. This must be a good defense. No. I honestly, looking back at it, you got to sit there and just think to yourself, how did the Raiders pull that off? And it's just like, there's been some confusing games. Like Colts Jaguars, if you were to run that back, the Jaguars would not have won that game 27-20. It's just like, the NFL has been so weird, so wacky this season, but what do we expect, man? At this point.
Like I said the other episode, 2020, that's the excuse for weirdness this year. Yeah,
I mean, I feel bad for you because you picked the Raiders twice and they just absolutely just let you down. And
never again for the rest of the season. I've already said, and I've made my vows to never pick the Lions for the rest of the season. Raiders, you're next.
Last thing before we get to Week 15 picks. You told me that the Saints were overrated.
Did I?
I mean, that was the perfect definition of a trap game. I felt like New Orleans came out really flat. Showed fight at the end like any other heavy favorite would do when they know they're sleepwalking. But in the end, they did not wake up. Like
I said, I haven't seen much that really impresses me that shows they can beat a team like the Chiefs if they make it to the Super Bowl. I just see another, I wouldn't say early exit in the playoffs, but I just don't see them, getting to the ultimate prize and winning a Super Bowl. I just don't. I just don't think they're really that good. They're very inconsistent, in my opinion. I know that they have it. Their record doesn't show that, but from what I've seen, the way they played some of these games, it hasn't been dominant and it hasn't looked very great. And I think last week was a perfect example of their inconsistency. But now they have Drew Brees back, and who knows if his ribs are fully healed.
And his lung.
Yeah, and his lung, and however many ribs. I can't even. How many? Like all of them.
11 fractured ribs and a punctured. How is this? How is that even possible?
If that happens to me, I'm out for a year.
You're out of the season. Maybe the start of the season. It's the start of the next season.
I'm done.
I don't know, man. But let's get to these Week 15 picks, because we're starting to heat up with this playoff race. Teams are starting to clinch. Stuff is starting to get juicy, and there's definitely some trap games. Definitely a lot of trap games. And we're going to start with the Buccaneers and the Falcons. Easy trap game.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It kind of feels like forever since anyone has talked about the Bucs. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if that's just you. It feels like it's been a while since anyone has even spoken about Tom Brady or the Bucs. But I don't know. I think that this will be the start of a very successful patch of wins for the Bucs starting today, and I think it will propel them into the postseason looking good, feeling good, and they'll take this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. Look, the Falcons can easily come up and just win this game. This is 50-50. They're going to see each other twice in the next 3 weeks, And the Bucks, I mean, they had better be ready, but man, I fully expect this game to be hard fought, gutsy. And I mean, these two teams, I think they're both gonna come with it. But man, in the end, I gotta give it to the Bucks. You know, I know why? Because I feel like Matt Ryan is showing signs of him needing to get out of Atlanta. I think Atlanta has got to get rid of Matt Ryan. Not saying Matt Ryan is, washed up. I mean, I won't say washed up. Not saying Matt Ryan was always a bad quarterback, but his time is up. I think it's time for him to go. And I think these next 3 weeks will show it, because what I saw last week against the Chargers, oh my gosh, he threw the game away. It's like the Falcons and the Chargers were trying to gift wrap each other the games. They're like, hey, no, you take the game. Let us choke. Okay, we'll kick a game-winning field goal so you can choke. Okay, thank you, kind sir. What the?
Speaking of the Chargers, this is a similar situation, in my opinion, to Phillip Rivers and his time with the Chargers. How we could visibly, tell that he was not playing well, and he probably needed a change of scenery. So who knows? Maybe it's time for the Atlanta Falcons to move on.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to reboot. Get one of these young QBs in this draft or something. May not be Trevor Lawrence or anything like that, but there's still a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft. A lot of guys that you can build on.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But right now, I gotta take the Bucks, man. I mean, the team has a relatively easy schedule. I sense 11-5 on the loose. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. But I got the Bucks. Now, for the game that I'm so happy this game got flexed out of Sunday Night Football, because it sucks what the Niners and the Cowboys are playing.
See, if this was, the 90s, this would be a somewhat entertaining game, because both teams were actually decent. This year, exact opposite, dude. Whoever decides to watch this game, Cowboys fans, Niners fans, I feel sorry for you. Because if I were a Cowboys fan, I would hate to watch this game. If I were a Niners fan, I'd hate to watch this game. Two ugly teams who have not played all too well. I don't even know. This could go either way. I think I'm going to pick the Cowboys.
Oh, wow.
As much as I dislike the Cowboys, as much as a lot of people dislike the Cowboys, I don't know. I definitely think they could be worse. I mean, after you lose your star quarterback, usually teams are terrible because they don't have a really, really solid backup. Andy Dalton's not just your average backup. This dude, he played years and years in Cincinnati, and he, so far, I mean, they've only had 4 wins, but he has played decently, definitely better than you would probably expect from a backup. So that's why I'm going to take the Cowboys here. As much as I would want the Niners to win this. I don't know. They're too injury riddled, and I don't know. I just think Andy Dalton will play another decent game today.
Okay. Obviously both of these teams have gotten the worst of the injury bugs this year. If both teams were healthy, if they still had all their players, best believe this game would have stayed on the Sunday Night Football slate. But battle of the backups. Here we go again in the NFL. Battle of the backups. Freaking Andy Dalton is against Nick Mullins. And Nick Mullins is inconsistent. I mean,
No.
let's just state that. He is inconsistent. He is a backup. He is the textbook backup. He'll flash some one game, go to the next 2 games, show you absolute garbage, and then give you some good stuff another game, show absolute garbage the next 2 games. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, what do you expect from backups? Now, I like Nick Mullins. I like when he does good, but he can't do it consistently. He's been put in the bad spot, especially with all the other injuries. Deebo Samuel at some points. The running backs were basically all, the whole running back room got destroyed basically early this season. And then obviously Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle. Oh, what a big loss.
Yeah.
Big loss. That is a big loss. And they also lost their stadium too.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, Arizona's their home for the rest of the season. That's going to be so weird to see 49er home games in Arizona. Spring training MLB mode. Here the 49ers come.
Exactly.
But you know what? I'm going to take the 49ers still because I feel like they're going to run all over Dallas. I feel like Raheem Mostert is going to have himself a day against that Dallas defense. I'm talking maybe 200 yards. I mean, I really don't have faith in this Cowboys defense. And I almost paid the price for it way back in October when I almost picked the Cowboys to beat the freaking Cardinals on Monday Night Football. After that, I was like, okay, this Cowboys defense is elite.
I saw it from the game, was that against the Rams, right? When every single defensive player decided to get hurt that game. Nonetheless, I wouldn't be mad if the Niners decided to absolutely slaughter the Cowboys. I don't have a good feeling tonight.
Yeah, because remember when I picked the Giants to beat the 49ers back in week 4? Yeah, look how that turned out. I'm not making that same mistake. 49ers faithful stand up. Reigning NFC champions. Maybe not this year, but reigning as of right now. All right, let's get to your Lions, Drew, because you got a game against Derrick Henry and the Titans.
Hey, you mentioned trap games. Today will not be one of them. Honestly, it is kind of a trap game because the Lions, they have played pretty well after firing Pencil Man, the defensive genius, and their GM, of course. But nonetheless, I don't know. I'm gonna obviously stay true to what I said earlier, and I'm gonna pick the Titans. But I could see a Lions upset here. It's the Titans need to play well today. This is a game they need to win. 100%, they need to win this game. I don't know. The Lions, they are technically still in the hunt. They haven't been eliminated yet, so maybe today will be the start of something great.
I'm going to pick the Titans too and stay true to that philosophy of yours because the Titans have proven that they don't trip up. They've beaten the Jaguars handily. They've won their they've won a lot of games, obviously, decisively. And they're rolling. They really are rolling. They're starting to pull away from the Colts in the AFC South. They obviously, have the driver's seat in that division, and they're really eyeing that playoff spot. They're really trying to get a home game in Nashville, Tennessee for January, maybe 10th or 9th or something, whenever they host the wild card.
Yeah.
But it will be very exciting to see this Titans team going forward because, next week they got that very, very probably the most interesting non-conference NFL game I've ever seen on a schedule in my life. Really, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
this is very interesting, but we're not there yet. Right now, they have to focus on the Lions, and I think they will get the job done. I got Tennessee.
Oh yeah. Whichever way this one goes, I wouldn't be surprised. I could see a Lions upset. I could see a Titans blowout. But nonetheless, I'm just happy I get to watch the Lions without Matt Patricia.
Yeah, speaking of Deshaun Watson and how he ran Matt Patricia out of Motown, he was one less fumble away from actually beating this team a couple weeks ago. He has his rematch with the Indianapolis Colts, Texans Colts in Indianapolis this time.
From the way that the Texans played last week, I called them overrated earlier this season. They're still not good. They are still, not even overrated. They're just not good. I'm gonna take the Colts, and I could see a blowout on the way. I really could. I don't know. I have no faith in the Texans. The Colts, they have looked pretty, especially against Houston. They've won the last 3 out of 4 against Houston. So the Colts, they look pretty good, and they have had a pretty decent season with Phillip Rivers. So I think they're going to continue that streak, and I think they're gonna handily defeat the Texans today.
Yeah, I agree. Indianapolis shouldn't have any trouble with the Houston Texans now, especially with the injuries for the Texans and offensive line. Just that Colts defense. We know that Colts defense is one of the best in the league, and Deshaun Watson, as usual, he's gonna have his work cut out for him, and so that's why I'm taking the Colts. But man, I hope Deshaun Watson can become a winner again with this franchise, because that dude is a winner and he does not deserve to lose like this. This sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks for me to watch. Brings tears to my eyes. 24-point lead against the Chiefs. Bill O'Brien! Oh, even when he was at Penn State. Oh, gosh. Okay, moving on. Let me move on from this before I activate ham mode. Patriots Dolphins.
I like this matchup. Usually it's gonna be a blowout or a miracle finish, right? This year, I mean, the Dolphins played very well against the Chiefs. I know they lost, but up until the end of the game, they played very well. It was Tua looks good, and I'm happy. I wanted to see Tua play well because of all the hype he got in college, and then towards the end of his college career, he got hurt, and everyone, doubting him. So I always knew he was going to be a pretty good NFL QB. Like, I remember there was a point last year. There was a point where I was saying tank for Tua for the Lions.
Yeah.
So, I think he fits very well in this Dolphins organization, and I think he's going to take this one today. I think they will, I wouldn't say easily beat, but I think they will beat the Patriots today. I really like what their team is doing. I like their young players. I like their coach. Flores has really done a good job in Miami.
Yeah, and he's probably one of the few coaches under Bill Belichick that would used to be under Bill Belichick that actually had success away from Bill Belichick. My goodness. Brian Flores, we were clowning this dude for the past couple of years for how bad the Dolphins sucked. But, man, hey, Miami, hey, look, they're out of the division race this year. They're still in the playoff race. Don't get me wrong. But, hey, this team them in Buffalo, it could be it could be just like the 90s with Dan Marino and Jim Kelly. Oh, baby, I can't wait to see Dolphins, Bills, Sunday night, Monday night, something. Give us something. Don't give us that early season, week 2, Thursday night garbage. Give me October, November, December. Dolphins, Bills next season. I want it. I want to see it. Tua versus Josh Allen. Give it to me.
I like it a lot as well. I really do.
Yes, but I'm going to take the Dolphins too. Patriots, so inconsistent. A lot of opt-outs. I mean, they can go out and beat the Chargers 45-0. Next thing you know, they won't even score a touchdown against the Rams, which the Rams and the Patriots really don't like scoring touchdowns against one another for some apparent reason. But I'm going to take the Dolphins primarily because of that defense. Oh, my gosh, that defense has stepped up so much. And I don't really even know who's on their defense outside of Xavier Howard. I got to look into that Dolphins defense more because I know they're pretty.
They have remember that really good defensive lineman for Clemson the other year, who was like
Williams. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah. It was something like that, but it was the year they beat Alabama. It was oh my god, he did like the splits and stuff. Yes, him. Yes, I have seen him play with the Dolphins, and he has played well.
All right, I like it. Let's go, Dolphins. I'm so glad to see bad teams, in recent years doing good. That's what I love to see in the NFL. That's what I love to see.
Well, most of them.
Yeah, you're right. Speaking of teams trying to do good, how about these two tryhards trying to get a playoff spot, even though they've looked like all season long that they were frauds? The Bears and the Vikings.
I'm obviously Lions fan. This is a divisional matchup, and it's not really my forte and enjoyment here. I'm gonna take the Vikings because they started the season 1-5, and now they're 6-7. So they have progressively gotten a little bit better. Not great, but definitely gotten a little bit better. The Bears are the I wouldn't say exact opposites because they started off undefeated and then started to go down. So I think for that pure fact, I mean, sure, the Bears won last week by a blowout, so they definitely have some momentum. I don't know. I just think the Vikings, in this case, they have played a lot better football as of late, and they will ultimately be the ones to take this one.
This is really tough. You know what? I don't know why. I don't know how, but I think the Bears are going to somehow find a way to pull this out.
I respect it.
I don't know why, but the offense gave me a tad bit of hope, and I see the Texans and the Vikings as in the same boat with a huge different amounts of hype, because we were expecting the Vikings to come in and beat contenders, and they were far from that early on. They're still in contention somehow, but one of these teams is going to be 500 at the end of the day, and I don't think it's going to be the Vikings.
Yeah, that's fair.
David Montgomery, I'm telling you, dude is a stud. He is a stud in silence because of that offensive line, but he's a stud. Okay, let's get that out the way. David Montgomery is a freaking stud. Okay.
Hey, I saw the highlights last week. He looked very impressive.
Now, only thing that scares me is that Bears secondary, because no Jalen Johnson and no Deion Bush. That's the only thing that I'm worried about with this Bears defense against that Minnesota offense. Other than that, Akeem Hicks is back. I expect the Bears defense to not even allow 24 points. Expectations set there. Okay?
That's
right.
fair. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, let's get into the afternoon games. Okay, do we really even have to expand on Jets Rams?
Rams.
Yeah. All right, but next Eagles. No, I'm just playing. But seriously though, the Rams, I think they got a colossal matchup next week against the Seahawks. Whoever wins that game is going to win the NFC West.
Dude, and it feels like it's been so long since we've heard about the Seahawks. That them and the Bucks are like two teams that have just gone silent. But nonetheless, I think the Rams are gonna, easily take this one. It won't be close, obviously.
I think the Seahawks have been silent because they played the New York teams back-to-back weeks, and nobody really,
probably a reason.
Yeah, but yeah, the Rams should easily win this.
You would hope, because if they don't, they don't deserve to win anything for the rest of the season. Jared Goff throws 4 interceptions against the Jets defense. Oh, dude, they're gonna get clowned. Oh, they're gonna get clowned so hard. Speaking of getting clowned, I'm starting to feel for Carson Wentz a little bit, because I think his time in Philadelphia is starting to dwindle down a little bit. I think Jalen Hurts could. Dude, I don't understand why I didn't pick the Eagles last week. I literally came out and said that the Saints were terribly overrated and that they weren't that good, and I literally picked the Chargers against the Falcons. I can't remember the other upset that I picked, but I picked a ton of upsets, and the only upset that I don't pick is the Eagles against the Saints, after I literally called the Saints overrated. I don't know what I was doing. I don't understand what I was thinking. It was absolutely terrible. But nonetheless, I think the Eagles, they're in a good spot with Jalen Hurts. I mean, Carson Wentz, like you said, there's been reports that he said he doesn't want to be the backup, and he wants to leave Philly. And hey, I don't blame him. I've seen teams like or people saying that he should go to the Colts. That would be a good fit. I think it was the other week when I said that the Eagles were my LVP because they paid Carson Wentz all that money. When I looked up how much he was getting paid, there was an article from, I think it was the Bay Area, so San Francisco, and they said that the 49ers may be targeting Carson Wentz as a potential replacement for Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know what is going on in San Francisco, but I saw that and I was very, very confused as to what that headline was. But nonetheless, I don't see Carson Wentz too much longer in Philadelphia. And with that being said, I think this will be I don't know. This game, it could go either way, but
Hmm.
I think I'm just going to take the Cardinals. I think they're a better team, and I think the Eagles are still trying to figure out what's going to happen in Philly. But I think it could be close. I could see Jalen Hurts putting up a good fight. I don't know. I just see the Cardinals taking this one.
Look, unlike the Saints, the Cardinals have a full game of tape to study off of this Jalen Hurts guy from Oklahoma. So they should know what's coming for them if they're doing their jobs right. And Cliff Kingsbury, he had better come up with a game plan against that silently decent Eagles defense, although they won't have Darius Slay because of concussions. But I'm gonna go ahead and take the Cardinals too, man. You definitely check swung last week with those Eagles, and you're not even taking that. You're not even chasing outside the zone this time. So I won't chase. I won't chase, and I'll be there with you, man.
Thanks.
I'm going Cardinals.
I appreciate that.
Like Cardinals fly.
Got the red shirt on too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Eagles fans, if I disrespected you. But your team is not. Yeah. Yeah. I mean.
Your team is paralyzed. You have a paralyzed wing.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So we've been talking about this matchup foreshadowing for the past 2 weeks for whatever reason. But here it is. Chiefs Saints.
I'm going to take the Chiefs because never bet against Patrick Mahomes, am I right? Again, I think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, and it isn't close. I really don't think any team is on their level, and I think they'll take this one. They'll definitely take this one. I'm not sure by how many or what margin, but I think they'll take this one. I think the Saints will definitely struggle against that high-powered offense.
Oh, no. Look, Patrick Mahomes, he can make plays. He can definitely make plays. And he'll make plays that'll kill you all game. And he'll make plays that'll end the game. But the Chiefs are not scoring 5 touchdowns against this defense. They're not going to score 5 touchdowns against this defense. And I know that's a pretty high bar. But this is not one of those days where Mahomes, does it all by himself. This is not the Mahomes and Hill show. This is the game that's going to show that the Chiefs are a team and not just a two-man circus. But with that being said, I'm going to go with the Chiefs because, look, Michael Thomas was out, and when I was saying that the Saints would beat the Chiefs, I was expecting them to be healthy, minus Drew Brees. I was going to pick the Saints to win regardless of who was at quarterback. But now that Michael Thomas is out, that struck some gator arms into me. And I'm just like, no, not without Michael Thomas. No. I don't care if you got Taysom Hill or the bag of bones out there. You're not going to, get past that Chiefs defense if you're not healthy enough. And that's why I'm taking KC.
Yeah, I agree.
Sunday night football. This was the first legitimately flexed game. And why I say legitimately flexed is because Buccaneers Raiders was supposed to be on Sunday Night Football way back in October, but that got flexed in favor of another game, which turned out to be Seahawks Cardinals because of COVID issues. But this is the first real flex for the NFL on Sunday Night Football. Cleveland Browns, New York Football Giants, the Odell revenge game, even though he's not going to be on the field.
Realistically, I could see this going either way. Realistically. But I don't know. The Browns, they just looked so good against the Ravens. I really did. I enjoyed watching them. That was one of the best games of the season, if not the best. It was game of the year. That's all. Let's be honest. But I don't know. I like what they're doing right now. They're doing everything right. And I'm gonna take them for the sheer fact that they're playing well. They're playing real well.
I'm taking the Browns too. Look, Seth MacFarlane is not the only producer of the Cleveland Browns show. I know, you like to make comparisons to Family Guy and American Dad, but the Cleveland Browns, these Browns, look, they are more than just a bunch of hand-drawn cartoons. These guys are for real. These Cleveland Browns, they can win a playoff game and scare some people, man. I'm literally scared of that running game. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
when you're thinking playoff football, bro, you got to run the football. You got to be able to run the football, and you can definitely run the football with this team. And you get to running the football with the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield rolling out of the pocket, play action. He can scramble, make plays, run for first downs and stuff like. People got to stop sleeping and hating on Baker Mayfield now, because now he has an identity. Now his team has an identity, and now they can make a run.
I 100% agree. I really do think that they're a good team, and I think they can make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah. Now, they had the game of the year last week, and that was an all AFC North clash. We have another all AFC North Monday Night Football game, and, well, safe to say it doesn't have as much hype as the one last week. Steelers and the Bengals. Ugh.
I don't understand why they put teams like the Bengals on Monday night and Thursday night. It is
this late in the season.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is. This one is going to be taken by the Steelers. Again, it won't be close. This is a terrible game, and I don't even know if I'm going to watch.
Now, look, the Steelers over the past couple of weeks have looked terrible.
They sure have.
And we talked about the Buffalo Bills, how great they were. And people don't talk about how great the Buffalo Bills are enough. But, man, you can't help but just look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and think, fraud, fraud. I mean, I think teams are starting to crack the code on that short passing game, man.
Oh, yeah, and especially when half of them can't even catch a pass. Most drops in the NFL. I mean,
Yikes.
I brought up Eric Ebron, but Chase Claypool also has had some drops as well. The Butterfingers, that's all I got to say.
That's sad, man. I think the Ravens, even with their practice squad, exposed them on that Wednesday afternoon football game. Yeah. I mean, look, rest does not, excuse you from playing that poorly. Game planning is not. Look, bro. Ben Roethlisberger just had surgery. Why are you making him throw 50 times in December? Why?
Makes no sense. I mean, they've had the easiest road to 11-0, and now, like you said, teams are cracking the code, and I think they are, I wouldn't say on a downward slope, but they're definitely, it's going to be a tough ride for the rest of the season for them.
Yeah, because guess who they finished with? Indianapolis comes to town, and then they got to go back to Cleveland. And Cleveland is not the same Cleveland that they're used to. This is not the same Cleveland. But you know what, Drew? This should be a gimme for the Steelers. If they lose to the Bengals with Ryan Finley as their quarterback, third stringer, I'm going to lose my stuff.
I don't blame you, because this, like you said, easy game for the Steelers. They need to have this one if they expect to play well in the playoffs and the rest of the season. If they lose this one, good luck.
And for God's sake, Ryan Fichtner, run the freaking ball. James Conner is not that bad of a running back, for crying out loud. Run the ball. Jeez, and Steelers fans are getting so hot about it, and I understand why now. Because, my goodness, they suck at game planning.
They do.
And that's going to kill them in the playoffs.
Yeah, it sure is.
All right, we got a couple more games to touch up on, man. Deep into week 16 just a little bit. Got a Friday afternoon football matchup. Very interesting. Trying to compete with the NBA for that December 25th slate. Vikings Saints, though, that's a good matchup, and that's definitely been a prominent matchup for the past couple of years, though.
I'm not a fan of this game. I think both teams are very inconsistent. It just isn't. It isn't that appealing to me. I could see a blowout. I don't know. It's not that great of a game in my opinion, due to the inconsistency. Who knows if Michael Thomas will be back? Who knows?
No, he's on IR. He's on IR.
Yeah, he's not even going to be back. Who knows if Drew Brees will be fully healthy. I mean, we'll see today. If he's not, it's going to be an ugly game. Same with the Vikings. Who knows? But I think as much as Saints are inconsistent, I am going to take the Saints, and I think they will beat the Vikings here. It's gonna be an ugly game, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think the Saints will take this one. I think they have an overall better team, and yeah.
You think it's going to be ugly in terms of the play on the field. I think it's going to be ugly just because of the rivalry. I sense rivalry, building up with Viking Saints, and I've really enjoyed watching this matchup over the past few years. Ever since, I mean, obviously it started with Brett Favre throwing that interception, but in recent years, man, these two teams have put on some good stuff. They've shown some good stuff, but the Vikings have pretty much owned the postseason, and the Saints have owned the regular season. And I think the Saints will still own the regular season in this one. I'm gonna take the Saints over the Vikings. All right, dude, you gotta. This is a somewhat prime time game,
Yes.
even though it's noon, against the Buccaneers.
Hey, at least we finally got a nationally televised game besides Thanksgiving. But the last time we were on national television, it did not go so well. I think that's going to continue. I think the Bucks will take this one. I think it. I don't know. I just don't see it being that close. But in recent years, the Lions have had Tom Brady's number. So who knows? It may be who knows? Who knows? It could be a trap game. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't know. I got to stay true to my my code and take the Bucks. And I do think the Bucks are a better team.
I'll follow the code too if that's the case. I'll take the Bucks. I just think the rest of the Bucks schedule is trap games. 2 games against the Falcons and then this game. So, but I don't think they'll slip. I'll take the Bucks too. And speaking of trap games, this is basically a day full of trap games. We'll go to the next one. 49ers Cardinals. Cardinals trying to get that 7th seed, but hey, all Arizona matchup. Technically.
Yeah. That is a trap game, as you just said. That could go either way, realistically. I don't know. I think the Cardinals, if they can win today, I think they will be able to take this one against the Niners. The Niners, again, injury riddled. Their entire team, it seems like, is injured, and I don't know. I think the Cardinals will use that to their advantage and take this one pretty soundly.
Yeah, and my thing is, hey, they beat the 49ers when they were healthy, fully healthy.
Yeah.
So I don't see why they can't come out 15 weeks later and do the same
Exactly.
against basically their practice squad, unless they are like the Saints and they overlook teams and play down their competition and stuff like that. But I don't think Cliff Kingsbury has that luxury yet because they're only 7-6 and they're fighting for playoff position. They know they need these games.
Yeah.
And I think they'll get this one and move to 9-6.
Mm-hmm.
Go Cardinals.
Yeah. Hey, you got the red shirt on. You're gonna fly those wings.
Yeah. All right, last game that we're gonna try to pick. This game was really looking to be a very important game in the AFC race, and it's kind of lost value because of the Raiders. But Dolphins-Raiders.
I'm going to take the Dolphins. I really, really have enjoyed what the Dolphins have done, like I said earlier. And the Raiders is the exact opposite. I enjoyed what they did at the beginning of the season, and since they have been pretty terrible. Their defense especially. So I think Tua will have a day against that Raiders defense.
Yeah, I mean, Phillip Rivers with turf toe, if he can drop 44, oh boy. Tua, I think he might feast. Herbert feasted this past Thursday too. So these young quarterbacks, they coming in against this Raiders defense and they're feasting.
Yeah, 100%.
So sad. This could have been a playoff. This could have been the playoff game before the playoffs.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
And it's a Saturday night game too, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But hey, These two teams should be back and better the next season. They should be.
Hopefully.
The Rams
Hopefully.
get that defense straight. Ugh. Let me move to college basketball because under a lot of shade from the football side of things, college basketball has been silently entertaining this season.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to love about Kentucky having their worst start since the 1920s? I mean, sorry, Kentucky fans. I know the Big Blue Nation is probably not happy with what I just said. I don't really care. You guys have been too good for too long. It's about time that you have your worst start in almost history. So, almost 100 years, actually. I think 97 years since they've been 1-5. So Kentucky, they don't look great. And hey, I got a big game today. Start of Big Ten play. Hey, and I think Michigan State, they're bringing out the All Blacks.
They have All Blacks?
I think they're doing the alternate today.
I didn't even know they had blacks.
I think they
wait.
The neons.
You're not talking about the neons.
I'm not sure if they're going to continue with the neons, but I do know that the base jersey is all black. So be ready.
What's that new side stripe that they have? That side stripe thing they have going on. It looks.
I'm not exactly sure. I know it connects to the pants, which is pretty cool. I like it. I think it adds some texture to the jersey. But nonetheless, Michigan State, they're playing well, and they're going to move up after that impressive win by Gonzaga against Iowa.
Oh yeah. The Gonzaga solidified #1 team in the nation.
I'm glad. I really want to see them. If Michigan State doesn't win March Madness and the championship this year, I hope Gonzaga does.
Or Mayhem.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens. But yeah, dude, this is I've been telling you this, bro. I've been waiting for conference season because I really want to see some stuff because there's some games on tap in these conferences that are really grinding my gears, and they're just really. I'm so excited to see these games. I'm really focusing on Creighton and UConn, which is like this tip off is less than an hour away on FS1. I'm gonna be watching that game because I really want to see what Creighton is made of, and I want to see what UConn is made of. UConn's undefeated. Creighton's in the top 10. I want to see what's going to happen with these two teams.
Yeah, both teams have been historically pretty good, especially UConn. I don't think UConn, not many people have heard about UConn because, again, they haven't really been good these past a few years, but who knows if they can beat Creighton, who you said is in the top 10. I think that UConn may be on the rise once again, and I think this is definitely a very intriguing matchup, as you said.
Yeah, and another intriguing matchup. Earlier, you said Illinois was a tad bit overrated, and I felt that Rutgers could be a little bit underrated because of all the Big Ten teams that are in the top 25 and stuff like that. But man, Illinois and Rutgers at the rack, that could be something special.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't watched Big Ten play these past few years, Rutgers they've been sneaky. I mean, when they've played Michigan State has had a very tough time. They have a few really good players on their team. And hey, you say I could easily see an upset. I wouldn't even consider an upset. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think Illinois is a very talented and good team. I just think their placement this season was way too high because they did not prove themselves enough last year to get a top 10, top 8 placement.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5 as well.
Then I didn't agree one bit.
Best believe my father was giving me the earful about Illinois. Even though he definitely doesn't want to shift things to the football side. But yeah, Rutgers definitely, they can prove themselves this week because not only do they have Illinois, but they also have another team on their schedule in Scarlet that is, rising up the ranks. Ohio State, that should be
I don't know. Ohio State just had a loss, so I don't know. It could be pretty interesting to see how this Big Ten, these Big Ten games, play out because anything can happen. We've seen it. I mean, Dude, I always have to go back to Michigan State because they've won 3 straight Big Ten championships, and it's been I wouldn't say an easy road, but they haven't had as much competition as this year. This year, every single team is pretty decent, so I'm looking forward to this Big Ten conference.
Speaking of the Big Ten, you said Wisconsin was criminally overrated earlier, like a couple episodes ago. Well, let's see how overrated they are when they come to the Brest, because that's exactly what's going to happen on Friday.
Dude, hey, I'm looking forward to this game because actually I was about to say this is the first test that Michigan State will get, but realistically that would just discredit Duke and everyone else. So this will be the first test that they get in the Big Ten. They've already had some tight wins against teams like Western Michigan and Detroit Mercy, but this one will be a good one. It will. I could see some very high maybe potential in the future. Looking ahead, maybe a Big Ten championship game. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean Wisconsin. Look, they just destroyed Louisville yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Even and they lost. I mean, yeah, they lost to Marquette, but Marquette's not that bad.
And it was on a buzzer beater, so really nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, but man, look, that Wisconsin-Michigan State game, I hope that is a televised game because I really want to see what these two teams are made of.
Oh, definitely.
And then last game I want to highlight is West Virginia and Kansas. Of course, Kansas got so lucky escaping Lubbock with a victory against Texas Tech. They should have lost that game.
I don't know. I don't feel that Kansas is that good this year as well. I mean, they really haven't. They've almost every single game they've played has been relatively close.
Yeah. I mean, right now the fact that they let Kentucky hang with them, looking worse and worse.
Bro, and Kentucky was up most of the game too.
Oh yeah, yeah. They definitely could have lost that game.
100%.
I just want somebody to beat Kansas in the Big 12. I mean, as much. I mean, when you're talking about you want to see a team that you want to lose the conference championship so badly, it's Ohio State football in the Big 10, and then it's Kansas basketball in the Big 12.
That's fair. 100%. Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, my goodness. I mean, although it won't be the other team in Kansas, because yeah. Wildcats aren't looking so wild this year.
Yeah.
But let's go over to professional basketball, my friend, because the NBA season starts on Tuesday with, good old-fashioned doubleheader. Of course, they're going to cheese out and milk out the Western Conference this year because it's the Western Conference.
And I don't blame them because the West looks really, really competitive. Really, almost every team is. I mean, let's say, look at the East. You already know the teams who are not going to be too good. It's going to be the Knicks, the Pistons, the Bulls, and potentially the Hornets. I think the Hornets are on the edge. Every other team has a potential to get into the playoffs in that range. Look at the West. You can't cancel out anyone as of yet because every single team, maybe besides, let's say, an OKC or the Spurs, is going to be real good. Really, really competitive conference. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Yeah, that's going to be very... Whew. And then, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting week for the NBA because now you don't have a bubble and you're going back to home markets and stuff. I hope they can pull it off because
it is interesting. If you look at the schedule, a lot of teams play back-to-back, like away or home games, like they did in the preseason. The Pistons played the Knicks twice in Detroit, and the Pistons played the Wizards twice in DC. So a lot of back-to-backs at the same arena. So I think that's what they're gonna do. A lot of close travel, nothing too crazy.
You know what? It's also funny because Rudy Gobert just got signed to that max extension.
Yeah.
A 5-year, $205 million extension. That's the largest in NBA history for a center. And it obviously pretty. I mean, I feel pretty good, especially for the guy that basically shut the league down. To start this whole.
Dude, I don't know. don't feel like Rudy Gobert should be the highest paid center, in my opinion. That's just me. I'm gonna say that right here.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind just in case Utah wins the Western Conference. No, just playing. The Lakers look like just clear cut,
and they got better. They got better in the offseason. That's scary.
They pulled the Chiefs. They
literally.
Chiefs.
I don't know how much better you can get than last year's team, but they upgraded JaVale McGee to Marc Gasol. They upgraded. I wouldn't even say Kuzma because Kuzma's still on the team, but they got Dennis Schroeder. I like that. I do like that. I do like how players on, I wouldn't say bad teams, but Dennis, I was so surprised when the Hawks traded him to OKC the other year, and now Dennis is finally back on a decent team, because when he played with the Hawks, he was their star player. So, if the Lakers are gonna win another championship, I might as well do it with the best team, because then it will be obvious,
Yeah, they're making big money moves. I mean, every time a team wins a championship, somebody's going to get paid. Just like Patrick Mahomes got paid the largest contract in sports history. They had to pay up LeBron and AD, gave them boys extensions, and now they're sitting comfy with millions.
Yeah,
especially AD with his injury history. He definitely got himself some insurance right there.
100%.
All right, dude, let's get to MVPs and LVPs. Who is your MVP?
My MVP. This is going to be interesting. So this week, or maybe this entire year, my MVP has been the UFC, because listen to this. They were the first sport to come back during a pandemic, and since July 11th, they've put on 41 straight weeks of events. 41. Not one cancellation, just 41 weeks straight of sport. And I enjoy that. I really think that's so underrated, because not many people know. Like, when you think of sports, you think the first sport to come back was the MLS in their tournament, right? It was on ESPN. It was broadcasted. But no, the UFC has done this. They've been going. They've had sports since April, and that was just so impressive to me. 41 straight events without a cancellation is so impressive.
They were the OG pandemic busters.
Yes. They were the first one to defeat the pandemic. Screw viruses. They were the first sport to conquer COVID-19.
Yes, sir. And my MVP is a specific player. I want to give my MVP to Najee Harris of Alabama. The dude I said it last night. When he was scoring those touchdowns, all I thought of was an elusive Derrick Henry. An elusive, more agile version of Derrick Henry. This dude looked so hard to tackle, and you wondered why. You wondered if Alabama's offense was that good or Florida's defense was that bad. Well, you could definitely make a case for Alabama's offense being this good because of Najee Harris. Dude, my man's literally accounted for over half of Alabama's entire offense. Even though Alabama's offense, they put up 605 yards of total offense. 605. This man, Najee Harris, let's see, 181 plus 181. Well, he had 184 yards receiving and 178 on the ground. So that's 362 total yards of offense for Najee Harris alone, to go with 2 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. 3 receiving touchdowns. This dude went insane. And you know what's funny? He didn't have a play longer than 30 yards. And he accounted for all of those yards. It wasn't like he had 2 90-yard touchdowns. This man was literally striving down that Florida defense. Right down them. No repercussions. No limits. This dude was going absolutely insane. And he has my MVP.
That's 100%. I mean, that would have been my MVP as well. But hey, I saw that he broke Alabama rushing records, Alabama records in general, and SEC championship records. So I definitely props to him. He had a fantastic game, and potentially, I mean, I would consider him up in the Heisman watch. Probably won't happen, but he has to be up there.
These college football players love breaking rushing records.
They do.
We've seen it over the past few weeks. we definitely have seen it with Buffalo and North Carolina, and a lot of teams are starting to really run the football, and I like to see that. Just get off me, big boy style running, big boy style. All right, let's get to our LVPs because I feel like there are a lot of options this week.
Yeah.
What's your LVP?
I'm gonna take Notre Dame on this, but not for the reason that you may be thinking. Obviously, they had the infamous, rush the field in the middle of a pandemic, right? And then they come out a few weeks later and say that they may boycott if they aren't allowed fans in the stands. Yes, it's their family, but I'm starting to think that Notre Dame, they just don't like COVID-19, and they want to break every guideline possible. Like, it makes no sense. First you rush the field, now you want fans in the stands. What's going on? And then on top of that, before you even get to that stage where you can have fans in a playoff atmosphere, you get absolutely slaughtered by Clemson. So, Notre Dame, you are my LVP.
Wow, that is a well-deserved LVP. Very well-deserved. This was a tough decision for me because I had a choice between Dan Mullen, the Florida Gators coach, and Brock Purdy. But I had to give it to Brock Purdy because he played, for the most part, such a terribly played game. The 3 turnovers he accounted for was so jaw-droppingly terrible, especially the last one. Oh, my goodness. Dude, look. If he hadn't thrown one of those interceptions, the Cyclones would have been Big 12 champions for the first time.
Yeah.
But Brock Purdy threw it away in the worst ways possible. He threw it away. Literally, he was trying to pull a Mahomes. And you know what? I think that receiver could have made a better judgment and made a better play on the ball. But you don't throw a ball like that when there's 2 Sooners in the vicinity like that, man.
Hand punt.
Hand punt. That's a good way to put it. Because basically he just hand punted the Big 12 championship to Oklahoma. My goodness, man. How many times are the Sooners going to win the Big 12 championship? Back to back Big 12 champions. If they started 1-2, they were out of the top 25. How did the Big 12 let them win again?
Unfortunate.
I'm looking at Oklahoma State, and I'm looking at Iowa State. Why? This was supposed to be one of your years, and you messed it up and let the Sooners win again. We don't even talk about Texas. We know Texas sucks. Big 12. Now you just knocked yourself out the college football playoff. Maybe. We'll see how biased the committee is this later on. I don't know. But let's get to some trivia, man. Last week I asked you, when was the last time the reigning MLS Cup champion lost the MLS Cup on the road the very next year?
Well, my answer was 2004, so let's see how close I got.
Well, definitely much more recent than you would have thought, because it happened in 2017.
Okay, so like 13 years off. I was somewhere close.
Yeah, 13 years off. Yeah. A whole teenager's life and encapsulated in between 2 predictions. But it happened when Toronto FC dethroned the Seattle Sounders back in 2017.
Okay, so yeah, definitely very recent. My guess was way off. Okay, nice.
Yeah, not as historic as you probably thought it was. I mean, that was a very interesting back-to-back years because both games were played in Toronto. Toronto FC lost the first MLS Cup in penalty kicks, and I saw the game live. That was the very first MLS Cup I ever watched, and I was like, oh, he hit the top of the crossbar, and Seattle didn't look back after that. They won the shootout after that. And then the very next year, Toronto FC got their sweet, sweet payback and took the cup, same place, different result.
Yeah, well, okay.
So yeah, that's what happened before the Columbus Crew came around.
Nice logo.
Yeah, the team with the nice logo. What is it with the teams with interesting logos and identities just having some of the most interesting years. I mean, we got the Cleveland baseball team, maybe the Chicago hockey team, if it even comes down to that. We'll see. I'm going to be very interested to see what happens here.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely a lot of change going on in sports right now.
Oh yeah, but let's get to your trivia question. What you got for us?
All right. The NBA is I wouldn't say finally back. It's been a few weeks basically, but you know, the NBA season, the 2020-2021 season is finally here. And I'm going to ask, is this our first NBA trivia question? It could be. I honestly don't know. Nonetheless, which NBA team has the longest active losing streak in the playoffs?
You're not talking about how many years they haven't been to the postseason.
No, just how many straight losses does this team have? What team? What team?
Oh dang!
So they're basically the Minnesota Twins of the NBA, essentially.
We're talking in terms of individual games or entire series lost in a row.
Straight losses.
Straight losses. Okay. Yeah, it's got to be one of those bottom feeders.
Hey, who knows? I mean, you got a bunch of pretty terrible teams over in NBA history, honestly. Who knows?
Yeah,
it could be the Kings, maybe the Timberwolves. Both of those teams have had some very terrible playoff history. I mean, the Kings last made in like 2004, so.
Yeah, there's your 2004.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to see about this. I mean, I feel like I don't. Oh, you and these history questions, man.
Yeah,
history questions.
I enjoy it.
But yeah, dude, we talked about a lot today. Obviously, football, raining, December as usual. But hey, other sports are starting to heat up. Just getting ready for when football is out.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very exciting, and I just want to let the fans know, happy holidays, happy all that. Top of standings will be back, I think, the 3rd of January. So 2 weeks, 1 week, we're just going to take a holiday break for, the fans and us personally. But nonetheless, happy holidays, everyone. We've been enjoying making episodes and look forward to, a college bowl special later today. So, Jotham, let me know. Is top of the standings going to be on the same time in 2021?
Yes, I anticipate us being on at the same time. Yeah. Well, I guess you couldn't say same time next week because, well, next week isn't there, but same time next 2 weeks. I see what you did there. But yeah, if you guys enjoy Top of the Standings, just give us that like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and then give us that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or whatever streaming device that you're using to listen to Top of the Standings on. Follow us on our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the big three. And then if you guys enjoyed, keep on listening, and we'll see you guys for episode 21 next week. Peace.